let's open up with what Clobriel had to say. Now, anytime you see a film that is video game flavored, anytime you see a show that isn't a train wreck, right? That does something that moves you as a human, but as a gamer, something like The Last of Us, for instance. Mrs. Boom and I watched it. There were a couple of episodes that were so good and so engaging for us that we rewatched them multiple times. And obviously, it won awards all over the place. It was an amazing show. And unfortunately, the first Halo season, even though I liked it, I didn't love it. And we were waiting to see what the Halo season 2 was going to be. That turned out to be a banger. But talking about Fallout, well, Clobriel put out a tweet, as he does. One of my favorite Xbox posters on X and or Twitter, whatever your flavor is. And he put out something that was pretty interesting. Now, Fallout 76 is one of those games, Fuzzy Belvedere, that came the way of a lot of controversy. I bought it for the Power Armor helmet. I didn't buy it for the game because it was an MMO and I knew I wasn't going to play it. I did put some time into it. I didn't like it. I haven't been back since. But it turns out that the FOMO and how good this show is and will continue to be, because they already have greenlit season 2, and they're going to start working on that, I would imagine, immediately. He wrote, Fallout 76 has just achieved its highest player count ever on Steam. Like, that is crazy when you consider how long ago this game came out. And obviously, they just released Fallout Atlantic City Boardwalk Paradise. But you see, that's not the only one. We also saw some tweets that come along of Paris Lily, who was confirming, thanks to the series, the Fallout hype is real. Happy to see old and new players jumping into Fallout 3, 4, and 76, as well as Fallout New Vegas, which, again, if you didn't know, folks, FYI, public service announcement, if you are an Amazon Prime member, you can get Fallout 76 for both Xbox and PC for free, but you can also get the deluxe edition of Fallout New Vegas for the PC as well. Definitely do not let those go by the wayside. Just hit the download button, or just collect them on your Amazon Prime account. Don't let them go by the wayside. And again, if you're finding Fallout for the first time, folks, I'm gonna be a little bit of a fanboy here. Fallout New Vegas by Obsidian is chef kiss. It's just so good. But let's talk about this, because there is something to be said about these resurgent numbers. Mm-hmm. And they're coming across the board. As a matter of fact, we have here a story that was written by WindowsCentralGaming.com. It was posted by Samuel Tolbert, who says the Fallout franchise sees player count resurgence across all games thanks to sales, promotions, and the excellent TV series. Let's kind of like pick wherever path you want to go. Talk about the TV series, talk about the games. Did you enjoy it? Are you going to watch it again? Let's talk about it, man.
Well, I'm at episode 6 right now.
Okay.
So I'm pretty early on as far as episode 6. So only like 3 episodes left to it. And I'll probably wind up watching it again because Fallout 4 was my first dive into the Fallout universe for the most part. And I did that back when it first launched. I went and bought the collector's edition with the guide and the map and all that other stuff back when it first came out in like physical form. And then I wound up buying the Game of the Year edition, I think around the time the Xbox One X came out. So I had already had that on both Xbox as far as the disc as well as the digital version. Got into it, but didn't make it that far. It didn't quite grab me as much as I had hoped. I figured Fallout would be more maybe zombie-like as far as the post-apocalyptic world and everything, but it didn't quite grab me as much as what I had hoped. But, after Starfield, looking back at a lot of the mechanics for that and then applying what I know from that to Fallout 4 now, makes it a whole lot better. But the thing that got me to look at Fallout 4 again was a TV show. And at first I was like, yeah, I'll probably wait until after, everybody's kind of like calmed down about it and stuff. But I was like, nah, you know what? Let me at least check it out. And it's something me and my wife can sit down and watch. Now, she's more into horror films and zombie flicks, but her zombie flicks are more of like the B movie kind where it's all about slashing and campy, dialogue kind of stuff. I'm more about like the 28 days type of deal, or like the what was it, the day after, not the day after, but the one where they were in the mall, that more recent one. And then there's a few
Dawn of
other
the
ones
Dead,
that,
I think that
yeah,
was.
Dawn of
Yeah.
the Dead. But we both watched it. I was expecting her not to really, like it, because it was one of those things where we always have this back and forth about, video game movies or shows relating to video games. She believes the Resident Evil movies are better than the game. I say the otherwise. The games are better than the movies. But outside of that, we both enjoyed it. Love the characters. Love the action that's involved in it. Love the fact that they actually use the source material as reference points, like a lot of things that you notice in the game or clearly in the show, and that they took the time to, I guess, whether they, people that were directing or writing for this took time to actually play the game, or maybe they were fans of the series beforehand. You could tell that there was, some sort of involvement in either, reading the lore or at least, playing the game or watching gameplay of it and stuff like that, as far as, how everything was translated into the show. So great to see that people are returning to the game like that. That's, I think, the whole purpose of how this video game, like, what do they call it, transmedia, as far as, you have a game turn into a movie, or you turn a movie into a game. And in the past, like growing up, most of the time, if a movie was turned into a video game, it was a crappy one. Like ET is a perfect example. But outside of that, like, we've gotten well, not we, but a lot of studios and publishers and everything have gotten way better as far as the transition from movie to video game, whether it's RoboCop, whether it's, The Last of Us, or even now with Fallout. And there's many others that have gotten better over time, like the more recent, Super Mario Brothers. The first one was funny, but it didn't really, jive with I guess the video game per se kind of thing. But for the most part, this was a pleasant surprise. Was not really expecting it to be as good. Not knocking Halo or anything like that, because Halo just isn't as much of my jam. But I've heard a lot of the fans say how it didn't respect, I guess, the lore of the game as much first season. I mean, I can kind of understand them wanting to go in a slightly different direction. Being a fan of The Walking Dead, I've seen how that series kind of deviated from the books and stuff like that. But this has been, even though it's its own individual story, even though it's not replicating the actual game per se as far as an existing version of the game, but you can tell that it feels like it's in that universe, and that whoever put this together, respected that type of detail in that universe to make this its own story, and it's a wonderful one. So definitely, anybody on the fence, definitely check it out. Whether you've played Fallout or not, I would say this is one of the better video game to movie or TV series type of transitions. Kudos to Amazon. Like, they really knocked it out of the park with this one. And it will more than likely at least get you back to looking at Fallout 76, which that was more of like, my sons were into that more so than me. So I'll probably wait until I finish Fallout 4 before I even step up to 76. Plus, there's the graphical update, or the next gen update, that's coming to Fallout 4 later this month. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, listen, obviously Todd Howard played a huge part in this. Exactly how much was he on set? Did he direct? Did how much of hands-on did he have, Gamsley? We don't know. We know that he was a part of it. He's an executive producer. We're going to talk about some of the things he said during that interview that are both exciting, but at the same time, a bit perplexing. But I want to keep on pace with the show and the fact that the games are I mean, the resurgence in all of the games, not just maybe Fallout 76, which is an MMO, Gamsley. We're talking Fallout 3 has seen record sales. Fallout 4, I mean, they're all on sale. This is a concentrated effort. This isn't by accident. They knew exactly what they were doing, and this is phenomenal marketing. I would imagine that its sales are up on everything, both on PlayStation, on PC, on Xbox, and for good reason. The show was phenomenal. The attention to detail is fantastic. These are characters that you're meeting for the first time. This is a vault or vaults that you're seeing for the first time in the overarching Fallout narrative. It's there's a lot to get excited about. Let's how has your experience been with the show? But more importantly, Gamsley, are you even surprised that there's been this resurgence across the board on all the games?
Yeah, to that question, no, I'm not surprised. Well, I am kind of, so I think I have to admit that I've been wrong on this one. I thought that it wouldn't move the needle that much. I think I'm on record in multiple podcasts saying that. I didn't know if it was gonna land. That's why. I didn't know if this was gonna be a Halo situation or whatever. So I was very surprised that this landed at the praise that it was landing with critics, and I was like, oh man, this might take off, this might be a big thing, and I was super happy. So what I'm not surprised about is Fallout being Fallout and Fallout being amazing. The thing that I think lends really well to to a TV show is that the main character and characters around her or whatever was never really the focus of a Fallout game, right? It was the world itself. It was a blank slate of that world, right? It's a blank slate of those characters that you create, and you go along the world and experience it as you experience it. Fallout is a convoluted story that most players won't understand, right? To get the full thing out of a Fallout game, you got to read everything. You got to go in databases. Depending on who you are, you will experience Fallout very differently from different people. And I think having those blank slates and having zero expectations on certain characters and having to build Master Chief like Halo, right? They had a blank slate. They could make a character, bring you across the world that they've already built that's canon. It just makes so much sense. I love how they explain the world. I love how easy it is to understand in the TV show. They did a really good job in really laying out what these people are, what these factions are, what locations you're visiting are, what happened. I think they keep the intrigue level there, just like the games. I think it's awesome. I think it's really well done. You can tell the person that got this was a super fan. I don't know if that's true. I don't know much about the director, but you could tell he.
Oh,
he
as well,
this.
it's Christopher Nolan's brother.
Oh my god! Okay, yeah. So he must. I don't know if he's like a huge fan of this series, but he knows the world, and I'm sure Todd had a lot to do with that. But he put a lot of love in it, and he's taking us on a journey of this blank slate character that we have never met, and I'm loving it. We don't have expectations on the character. You know what I mean? Like we don't have any weight to put on the main character. We don't know her. We don't have expectations of her. So I'm just enjoying the ride and the story that they're bringing me on. The games, I love how everybody's like, oh my god, Fallout games are good? That's crazy. Oh my god, Bethesda is actually amazing at freaking environmental storytelling? Who would have thought, huh? We like to forget that part, but yeah, I'm not surprised. The Fallout world is big for a reason, and people love this series for a reason, and I'm so excited that people are jumping into the older games and experiencing that, and I can't wait for what's new in these like already built worlds. And I hope they could keep the momentum, and I hope they could bring us to new locations and tell new stories.
You know what? I love it. I love what you're putting down, and I think you're onto something. And again, if you go back to Friday's Breakfast with Boom, I originally wrote the show to bring smoke Bethesda and Xbox saying, "Hey, man, you got this amazing show coming out. What about the 4K update?" And you know what? I didn't even have to do that because they talked about it and it's coming next week. Now again, I don't know if that was on purpose. Maybe they got the 4K update out of the way for the sales of the games and to let the show be its own thing. And of course, on the 25th, we get this free update. I like I said, I'm playing sparingly, but I'm having a very difficult time because of FOMO. And look, I got Dragon's Dogma. I got a bunch of Nintendo games that I bought that I have not. The Mario versus Donkey Kong. I haven't even put anything. I even bought the Princess Peach game because listen, my nephew hangs out all the time, and I'm a Nintendo nerd. Sorry.
FOMO is a thing, huh? Boom. It's really strong, isn't it?
It is very strong. It's the force is strong with this one, and I couldn't. I said, you know what? Let me just design my character, right? I'm gonna tweak it, the nose, the ears, the eyes, and I said, okay, there you go. And I'm like, I'm gonna play for 5 minutes just because I don't remember anything. And that 5 minutes turned into 2 hours, and I'm like, what am I doing? I want to experience this in 4K 60. Stop playing, goddammit.
I want to just shout out something before we move on and add to the things we're saying. Guys, Fallout games are very different from each other, depending on what location it is, depending on what time period it is in the canon. You're going to have a very different experience. Vegas is very much a Obsidian game, so if you're looking to pop in and you like Obsidian games and you like choice, Vegas is that. If you like Bethesda a lot, jump into Fallout 3. And if you like MMOs or you like that kind of community building experience, 76 is there. And I think they're all solid Fallout games in themselves. So depending on what you like, choose very carefully. And I would also be hesitant on the older games, only because it is very hard to play, because the controls are not very intuitive. But just jump in, guys.
Absolutely. Listen, before we bring in Game Pass Dad, get his hot take on the show and the success of the games in the last couple of days. Couple of shout outs. First of all, Lad in the chat, LAD, has dropped a code, an Xbox code for Fallout 76. Brother, that is very generous of you. If you won that code, by all means, please thank that man. That's very kind of Lad to do so. We have here Starfield guy drops a very generous £2 super chat. And yes, we're going to talk about that exclusively. Starfield TV show next, please. Yeah, I hope I don't break your heart with this one. Todd Howard has some things to say, but I think that those answers are going to change just clearly based on the success of this particular show. Decado in the chat, my brother, he drops a very generous 5 double barrel gaming memberships. Dude, that is crazy generous of you. Thank you so much. That is awesome. We super appreciate the help here, and you are amazing, brother. Andre Doyle drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Fallout is amazing. Awesome panel. Y'all, I'm enjoying my new Log 15 RTX 4050 13th generation 144 hertz gaming laptop ready for Hellblade 2. Hashtag Xbox gaming is fun. Yeah. Brother, that is a nice setup you have there. Good on you. I'm gonna enjoy it at 30 frames on my Series X that I bought and on my tip of the spear TV. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get into PC gaming. Maybe at some time. But Dreamcast, I'm gonna say Dreamcast Dad, Game Pass Dad. Is there a Dreamcast Dad? Because there's a Dreamcast guy. That guy's a bit of a troll. I don't know. Is there a Dreamcast Dad
Let's
out
not bring him in there.
Yeah, no, please, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mentioned his name.
I guess I'm also a bit of a troll sometimes too. It's okay.
No, you're not a troll. You have fun, and there's a difference, sir. Game Pass Dad. Listen. Again, the TV series I think does check all the boxes. Now, no TV series adaptation is ever going to be perfect in everyone's eyes. I know there's a couple of people. I know some people mentioned Angry Joe didn't like it. Okay, I mean, that's his shtick that he doesn't like things. It's fine. I loved it. A lot of people on the panel loved it. A lot of people in the chat loved it. But I'm interested to get your take on the show but more importantly, the raging success of the games and some of the numbers that are being broken. Like, for instance, Fallout 76 saw record breaking, never before seen numbers this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, like, Fuzzy bringing up like the power of like the cross promotion through the different formats of media, like how powerful it can be to even reinvigorate games that are like decades old at this point. Like there's people jumping into Fallout 3, there's people jumping into New Vegas, there's people jumping into Fallout 4, and even revived a game that everyone thought was dead on arrival at 76, which admittedly, like I'm about to jump into that one with some friends because
Nice.
they have done a lot of work to make that game playable, and there's a very strong community around it. But now there's like 40,000 people playing it on Steam alone is absolutely insane. But I do think it's going to send a strong message to like kind of reinforces that message because we've seen like this isn't a new type of marketing either. To that point, like we grew up with this, like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers, Pokemon,
Yes.
like TV shows sell product. It's just our toys today are video games. Like it's the same sort of thing. It's not a new concept. So I really enjoy the fact that video games are being taken seriously and not as an afterthought, and that they're telling like serious like adult stories in this case with these game television shows, because The Last of Us was absolutely masterful. It's just as good as any of the most amazing like TV shows have been put out by HBO or otherwise. And I would put this right up there. Like this is probably my new favorite like Amazon series that I would say, because I really enjoy it because they did a great job of staying true to like the set pieces, the story, the world. They brought the world to life, and then they're telling a new original story that also expands on the background. Like it adds another way to like as a vessel to like detail like the lore of the universe to everybody. So it's true to the source material, it's believable, and it's really like I really enjoyed my watching experience. Like there was not very many downtimes or anything that I really wanted to skip through, because sometimes I'll admit I get a little impatient. I like to skip through some things because I don't have a lot of time to sit around and, and like just watch TV all the time. So sometimes I'll just rush through things a little bit and then rewatch it later on. But this really kind of held me from start to finish, and like I finally finished it. I stayed up like because we were in the car yesterday, and I watched like 2 episodes in the car, and then I stayed up to watch the last episode after I got done streaming last night. And at 4 a.m. yesterday, I was like, just finished watching Fallout, and the only thing I had to say was, I want more. Like, it left me wanting more, which is always a great thing with any sort of media or entertainment. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. And I was doing some reading, like preparing for coming on here beforehand as well. And like Gamesley had said, like, this has obviously been created by someone who is a fan of the series and who loves it. And Jonathan Nolan was talking about how much he enjoyed the uniqueness of the Fallout universe and like the campiness and like the gonzoism of everything, and just how it was so much different than anything else in media that he'd seen. And it comes from him, who is obviously a fan of Fallout, but also one of the showrunners, created some of my favorite shows of all time with Silicon Valley and The Office, which most people definitely know about The Office. If you don't know
Yep.
about Silicon Valley, that and you have HBO, that's a must watch Mike Judge production. But yeah, just overall, like I feel like they knocked it out of the park. I didn't go into it like doing a lot of background like investigation of who created or anything like that, which I would have even more confidence at that point if I had read. But just off the trailer alone, I really was expecting this to be at the very least good, because I mean, most of what Walton Goggins is in is very watchable to me.
He's
He
exceptional. He's
is,
exceptional.
my God.
Really awesome.
You know what someone mentioned in one of the comments I was reading, that he would be an excellent Joker.
Oh man.
And
Yeah,
God,
I could
that
see
is
it.
his role that he has not gotten yet. Yup.
But on top of that, like it really makes me hope that this sends a message. Like between this and Last of Us, Like, honestly, like Halo, I never gave like a fair shake. Like, I haven't tried to dive into the second season yet. I think
Oh,
I
dude,
watched
you
like
have to. It's
first
so
episode of the
good.
second season. I heard it was an improvement. But when you see things like the Borderlands movie coming out, like, and how there's such mixed reviews there, I do still have faith in that because of the fact that it does seem like they nailed the set pieces and the special effects and all of
Yeah.
that. There are definitely some controversial casting choices that not everyone can get behind, which I'm still willing to give it a shot. But if that does not perform up to its expectations, I do feel like a lot of studios will go back to the drawing board when it comes to bringing out these gaming movies and not just try and, like, I mean, maybe that one's shooting for more of a broader audience, but I really hope it makes them wake up and just see like, hey, we got to take this seriously and we gotta nail it. And it's okay to tell original stories, but we got to make sure we're staying true to the source material. But overall, it's a definitely must watch in my book.
Now, are you surprised with the fact that the games have seen this massive resurgence?
Not at all. Like, honestly, like it just makes you nostalgic. Like, if you already played the games, it makes you nostalgic for the times that you had with it before because you're spending time in that universe and you're just sitting there thinking about like, oh, all the cool things I could be doing right now, or I want to go smash some rad roaches. But like, or for me, it's like I never played Last of Us, but I was familiar with the story and everything. But I definitely am going to eventually play Last of Us on PC. After watching and enjoying The Last of Us, like that's just an amazing story in and of itself, and an amazing world also. But I mean, when you spend time, like anyone, like it's such a major vessel, like something that's like I don't know what the numbers are on movies. I don't really pay in TV shows, but I mean, it's something that's way more um like mainstream and like socially acceptable, which gaming is becoming like amazingly mainstream at this point in time. Like there's so many people
Yes.
that game these days. Like it's not as rare as it used to be. But it's just something that I feel like it's good for the games themselves and just good for gaming as a whole because it just makes people curious about what these properties have to offer and what kind of worlds they can explore. So I don't think it's any surprise whatsoever.
It's fascinating to see like these shows popping up and really seeing like the side by side nature of it. Like
Yeah.
Fallout right now, it's so crazy to me because to me what really shocked me is like the realization of like my god, or the realization of like my god, like that just the blend and the time periods and the music and the themes that they're playing with in Fallout are much more in depth than I thought, or much more
Yep.
intriguing than I thought. Like those time periods that they are lost in, you know, are very fascinating. Like the 50s and 60s music and all that stuff, and the
Yeah.
blend of those technologies and the wars that were threatening that era and all that stuff is very very intriguing, and I find it so amazing like that the characters themselves are not actually driving me, whereas stuff like The Last of Us is more like character driven to me. And when we say world, it's an incredible world, I don't really see that's an incredible world. I think that the show kind of put the world aside a little bit and
Yeah.
gave
Good
me
point,
way more
man.
character development than well, way more character development. I like that as well. It does its job. I mean, it's great. I would say The Last of Us has one of the best episodes ever made on television, and that's the scene with in the farm and stuff. I think that was fantastic, but I think that's the only thing that pops out in that show. Whereas Fallout it's that freaking environment. You can't help but
Yes.
look and try to dissect it. Like you said, you were kind of gripped on it and gripped like your eyes had to be on the screen. Well, that's because they're
Yeah.
so good at building that world, you know? They're so good at the Easter eggs, at the
Right. When they're showing the
environmental
vault doors, the
storytelling.
technology.
Oh my god, they answer things in the show that aren't
Mhm.
said out loud that you put together. And it's just that's masterful. That's great. Yeah, anyways. I love seeing all these shows just pop up and really drive the gaming industry forward into TV. I love it.
Again, it's about time. See, and again, just for obvious, some numbers, because I like number based conversation. Just so FYI, if you weren't aware, when the Last of Us TV show came out, now I got this from GameIndustry.biz. The Last of Us Part One sales jumped
Oh man.
322%. And this was across the PlayStation 4 version of the game, The Last of Us Remastered, and also wind up jumping up the charts to number 32. And that
Nice.
again, that's just some really, really crazy big numbers. And this is what transmedia storytelling does. And if you're not familiar with the term, I have the definition ready to rock and roll, just to kind of, again, evidence-based conversation, because some people are like, what is transmedia? I don't understand what that means. Well, it's something, like Game Pass Dad said, that has been used for years, like all the way back to the 80s. If you remember the Secret Wars comic, they sold us on the toys. They had the cartoon. That goes for anything that you remember from the 80s: G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, He-Man. They had the toys. They had the animated shows to go with it on Saturday morning or after school at 4:30. And when it was back to back G.I. Joe and Transformers for me, I ran home to watch it before doing my homework. Transmedia storytelling, the definition goes as such, folks. It is a technique of telling a single story or story experience across multiple platforms and using and formats using current digital technologies. And obviously, the digital age is here. They are now spending millions of dollars on these movies, on these TV shows, based on games that already exist.